From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. In today's show, I talk about the impact of rising diesel costs on the Food Bank of Iowa. Dustin visits with United Soybean Board Director Pat Giberson, and we take a listen in to the rest of USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins' press conference on fertilizer from Washington Watch. I'm Riley Smith, one of your hosts for today. Joining me now is Mark Magnuson, and before we get fully into the segment, this first segment of the show brought to you by Burwell Livestock Auction in Burwell, Nebraska. Mark, we got a bit more rain today, and you actually had an interesting fact. This is one of the wettest Aprils we've ever had in Iowa, right?
It is, Riley, and I say that with the caveat of Des Moines specifically. For Des Moines, this has now entered the territory of the fourth wettest April in history. The only other time that it was more wet in the Des Moines metro was in 1976, 1991, and 1897. And we have talked about it a lot, in the fall, over the winter. We had a drier than average winter for much of the state and a dry start to the year, but that has kind of turned around in April. And actually, that's the Des Moines numbers, but for the entire state, we've seen a lot of good news in terms of that Iowa drought monitor. When you think about not too long ago, at the start of the month, more than half of Iowa was experiencing abnormally dry or drought conditions. Nearly 7% of the state was experiencing severe drought conditions. So not a lot of the state, but there was parts of the state suffering severe drought. But now, as of the latest drought monitor, which I actually pulled up here this morning because it was released this morning, we're looking at very, very sparse pockets of abnormally dry and even smaller pockets of moderate drought. So, throughout the entire state, we've almost wiped the board clean in terms of abnormally dry conditions or even drought conditions. The only spot that's still got some dryness is in extreme northwest Iowa. But overall, it's been good news for the month of April. And I know there's been some frustration. We haven't got the planning done as quickly as we would like, as early as we would like. But man, it could be setting up for a great season.
And I sure hope it does. When we went into the winter and we got that hard freeze, we didn't have a lot of moisture in the ground. So I know there was a lot of concerns heading into this year of, would we get enough moisture? Are we going to have a dry year? What does that look like moving forward? I think with all of the fertilizer issues going on, it has to be a huge sigh of relief that we at least have good moisture. It's one less thing to have to worry about for this crop season. Taking a look now at the opening market conversation, Mark Magnuson visiting with Matt Bennett of agmarket.net.
Joined today by Matt Bennett of agmarket.net for our opening market discussion. Matt, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Yeah, we're giving a little back here today. You look at, for instance, the corn market. D's corn, of course, went all the way up here, $4.99.5, and then on the overnight, $4.99 3/4. Couldn't quite get through $5, and so as we speak, we're giving some of that back, down 3 to 4 cents on corn, down a couple 3 on soybeans, and then wheat's giving some back as well. Of course, wheat's been on a tear. We've seen basically nothing but up since about the 9th or 10th of April here. We basically really sharp uptrend. Went all the way up here yesterday. Hit a high of 671.5 on July soft red wheat, and I'll tell you what, that was highest we've seen in a long time. And so you come in here and, basically I think that you're seeing some profit taking, first of all. And second of all, of course, the market's just a little bit overbought.
And with that weather situation with the wheat, Matt, is it any improvement on the horizon, or is it looking like it's still going to be just a struggle?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But bottom line, it looks like the weather is not going to improve a lot. The problem is, they're trying to bring some rain in, but none of these forecasts, whenever they've tried to do that, have really verified it. Of course, whenever you get into such a dry pattern, it's really hard to break out of it. So, at this stage of the game, I think everyone's under the impression that this wheat crop is in major trouble. Maybe it's already old news. The other thing you got to remember is the U.S. Is not the major wheat player in the world. It certainly would have an impact on our stocks numbers, so to speak. We could go from a stocks usage of well over 50% to, 30, 35%. But at the same time, you compare that to corn and beans, and obviously, there's plenty of wheat here. As far as a global situation, any sort of a wheat shortage can be fixed rather rapidly, considering someone's about to harvest wheat at any time of the year. So we just got to remember that. We've been trying to tell our guys, don't get too wrapped up in it. If you can definitely make money at some of these price levels, at least, maybe consider stepping in and making a sale or two.
And with the price movement we've seen to the upside for soybeans, is that primarily the soybean oil benefiting from the crude oil situation, and then soybeans benefiting off of that?
Yeah, you look at, for instance, crush margins have just been incredible, and soybean oil has kind of led the way there. Oil shares kind of come in like a rocket compared to historicals. We haven't seen this, I believe, about 3 times in history whenever oil share was over 50%, and obviously you look at soybean oil, 75, 60, as we speak here. And that's pretty rich. That's the highest oil we've seen. And so by all means, you're in a position where with crude oil being on the run that it's had, as we speak here this morning, you still got June crude oil, $105. And so obviously that has definitely provided support to other oils, vegetable oils, soybean oil, you name it. And so I guess moving forward, as far as soybeans go, a lot of folks in the world are trying to figure out ways to cheapen up their fuel and use more soybean oil, in some of their mixes, if you will. Brazil's talking about maybe 100% mix. And so that is a good thing, seeing energy prices high, because it's forcing people to figure out ways, they can use what they're growing domestically. And that's certainly the case in Brazil. So I think a lot of people are paying close attention to that, because it could definitely gobble up quite a few soybeans, and that's a good thing considering what global production has grown to be.
Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska, Friday, May 1st, will be a special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We start at 11:30 on our regular auction. We'll be selling breeding bulls, first calf heifer pairs, cow-calf pairs, bred first calf heifers, bred cows, and bred fall cows. That's at the Burwell Livestock Market Friday, May 1st, special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We start at 11:30 on a regular auction. You can view our complete listings at burrowlivestock.com. You can view and bid online at DV Auction or Cattle USA, or give us a call here at the auction market, 308-346-4257.
Well, as we started off yesterday, USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins recently had a press conference to discuss the current fertilizer situation impacting the U.S. and what the Trump administration has done to alleviate some of the pressure from a lack of fertilizer. Here's Secretary Rollins with the rest of that conversation.
Again, these are just some of the short-term actions that we have taken in the last 60 days to shore up fertilizer prices as much as is humanly possible with the current conflict. But I also want to note that we are looking, and perhaps even more importantly, at the long term and what we have to do to ensure this situation does not happen again. At our rural development mission in that area, we continue to build out production through a $900 million fertilizer production expansion program. The last administration saw only a handful of the 120 projects then awarded completed, and we are now working around the clock with a lot of these, dozens of these projects, to bring them to fruition. For example, natural fertilizer products in Ames, Iowa is near the finish line and will be online and operational this summer, increasing their production by 36,000 tons annually. I also want to call attention to 2 big funding opportunities that the administration is driving. Number one, and again, so grateful Secretary Lutnick is here to talk more about that, but the Commerce Department Investment Accelerator projects, fertilizer projects, investing over $1 billion in the United States infrastructure may be eligible for assistance from the Department of Commerce's Investment Accelerator, which is currently overseeing a historical, stunning number, $750 billion available, thanks to our trade deal related funding. Again, Secretary Lutnick will share more about that. Number 2, Secretary Chris Wright. He's on travel today. He's not here, but asked to pass along the Energy Department's Energy Dominance Financing Program. This is Secretary Wright's program, and he's financing critical materials projects notably just provided an over $1.5 billion loan for an Indiana ammonia project. Also streamlining permitting. The great Adam Tell is here to talk about that. But the Trump administration, primarily EPA, Department of Commerce, DOI, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are specifically streamlining to put, again, at warp speed, the permitting for air, water, chemicals, environmental review, safety, and transportation. One example, again, I mentioned Adam working today and tomorrow, and hopefully soon getting across the finish line to officially permit the CF Industries' new world-scale ammonia facility at Blue Point Complex in Louisiana, which is expected to be the largest ammonia plant in the world, with a nameplate capacity of 1.4 million metric tons per year. And then, of course, legislation, partnering with our friends on the Hill. Our administration is committed to supporting future federal legislative efforts, some happening right now, that alleviate high fertilizer costs as well. We continue to be laser focused and will not rest until this problem is solved. Through all of the above, and again, I'm going to turn over to Kevin Hassett next, we believe that in short order, in the next year to 2 years, we could expand, back of napkin, our domestic nitrogen production by more than 30% just in a short period of time, our domestic phosphate production by over 200%, and our domestic potash production by over 100% with just the projects and the framework that I have just outlined. This is real world change for our farmers and ranchers and for our American rural communities and ultimately for national security for our country. Again, I want to thank everyone here. I want to reiterate and underscore that this president remains resolute and convicted to do everything we possibly can to ensure that we are doing what we can to make sure that this doesn't happen again with our fertilizer prices.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
It's time now for the Basis Report here on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. Taking a look at cash corn and soybean prices from across the state, with most elevators trading now on the July contract. ADM in Burlington, corn 10 under at $4.64, beans 28 under at $11.62. Cargill and Eddyville still on the May contract, corn 10 under at $4.54. New Cooperative in Algona back to July, corn 42 under at $4.32, beans 72 under at $11.18. Ag State in Sheldon, corn 28 under at $4.46, beans 80 under at $11.10. Ag State in Alta, corn 38 under at $4.36, beans 75 under at $11.15. Cargill in Cedar Rapids, corn on the May contract 7 under at $4.57. July beans 30 under at $11.60. 5-Star Cooperative in Nashua, corn 34 under at $4.40, beans 70 under at $11.20. Lincoln Way Energy in Nevada, corn 30 under at $4.44. New Cooperative in Red Oak, corn 35 under at $4.39, beans 70 under at $11.20. Mid-Iowa Cooperative in Green Mountain, corn 53 under at $4.21, beans 86 under at $11.04. New Cooperative in Sheraton, corn 34 under at $4.40, beans 70 under at $11.20. Walk-On Feed Ranch, corn 42 under at $4.32, May beans 60 under at $11.15. New Cooperative in Glidden, back to the July contract, corn 40 under at $4.34, beans 70 under at $11.20. Innovative Ag Services in Farley, corn 47 under at $4.27, beans 76 under at $11.14. And Cargill and Muscatine on the May contract, corn 10 under at $4.54, beans 15 under at $11.60. For Basis Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, I'm Riley Smith.
Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska, Friday, May 1st, will be a special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We start at 11:30 on our regular auction. We'll be selling breeding bulls, first calf heifer pairs, cow calf pairs, bred first calf heifers, bred cows, and bred fall cows. That's at the Burwell Livestock Market Friday, May 1st, special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We start at 11:30 on a regular auction. You can view our complete listings at burwelllivestock.com. You can view and bid online at DV Auction or Cattle USA, or give us a call here at the auction market, 308-346-4257.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters, and Dustin Huffman in Washington, D.C., speaking with all of the policymakers and ag groups in Washington. And Dustin able to catch up with Pat Giberson of the United Soybean Board as he gets the latest news from the soybean industry. Here's Dustin with more.
Tell us a little bit about what is going on this year. What kind of things are the Soybean Board looking at? I know we have a farm bill hopefully this week in the House. What kind of things are we looking at?
Yeah, well, the farm bill, I mean, as you know, we're not on the policy end of things. That's ASA. But as far as, where we're at and what we're looking at, we're pretty much trying to get a little bit more domestic use here. We've changed our parameters a little bit as far as our work groups. I'm now on industrial. It's basically the same things, but we've kind of changed the names to fit with what we're looking at. So exports is another one, which is actually a work group now. So we're looking into, increasing domestic and export use. Biofuels, obviously the big one that everybody's looking at. We're like 5.5 billion gallons. So that's one thing. But the industrial work group too, we're also looking at a lot of bio-based industrial products, a lot of different polymers, which one of the ones everybody's talking. Well, you have all this crush capacity for oil. What are we going to do with all this meal? Well, there's quite a bit of things we can do with the meal too. One of them, and I believe May 4th is coming up with National Firefighters, all right? Soybean meal is used in TF 1122, our firefighting foam that we're doing. So I mean that's another one that we have bio-based adhesive stuffs that we're using with the meal. So I mean we're doing pretty good as far as trying to keep things evened out. If you go back, this is 35 years now we've been doing the checkoff. Back then it was, what are we going to do with all this oil? Now it's, what are we going to do with all this meal? And it's funny how in 35 years things have just flipped totally around. And, we're trying to keep up with that because if you go back 35 years ago, we were at about 1.8 to 2 billion bushels. Now we're 4 billion bushels we're producing. So we're keeping up with it. I mean, we've exported close to 2 billion bushels so far last year. So, I mean, these are all things that to check off the dollars that these farmers put in. We're trying to make something happen with it, trying to increase demand here domestically and abroad. So, I mean, these are big issues, and input costs, I know, is one of the other ones that's on everybody's mind. A lot of guys, I think, if we had the money, we prepaid for a lot of stuff, so that's helping out. The fuels market, not much we can do about that if we didn't have storage on the farm. I mean, we're going to be paying. No-till. I mean, we got brochures here for soil health, a lot of no-till stuff going on, cover crops. So keep tillage to a minimum, try to keep fuel prices down.
Well, obviously lots to work on. And we talked with the Soybean Export Council during the Commodity Classic and talking about how they're developing those markets, and soy meal got brought up quite a bit as, animal food and things like that, because these economies are growing and people are wanting more meat and more different proteins, and soy meal helps contribute to them being able to produce that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things, and that might even go a little bit into Mary's realm as far as with the food end of things. But yeah, I mean, the meal end of it, once again, we've always looked to the meal and we didn't know what to do with the oil. Now the vice versa is happening. But we're looking at other countries too that we normally didn't look at in the past. Sub-Saharan Africa, those places where they have growing economies that are looking for more protein in their diet. Well, the meal fits that. Right. So these are, also opportunities. Plus what we're looking at too is increasing rations here into our hog production, into our poultry production. So that kind of helps bring that bottom line up for the farmer all the way across the board. You're getting more money instead of exporting the meal by itself, exporting the pork, exporting the poultry. So it's, it's a ramp up as you go.
And we talked about a lot of different things that that the soybean industry is looking at for driving that demand, both for the beans, for the meal, for the oil. And the checkoff is obviously very important to fund that. But as you said, farmers at a very tough input time. Profit margins are thin. they're going to really know that they want to know that they're getting that bang for their buck. I mean, you're a producer as well. You know firsthand that you want to make sure that what the money you're giving over on this checkoff is going to go to work and return on investment for these farmers.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can look at that. Our investments for every dollar that we put in with USB, $12.30 comes back to the American farmer. So, I mean, if I was playing the stock market, that's a pretty good return on investment. I'd take that any day of the week. And the other thing is, too, looking at it from the perspective of if we didn't have this, just talking about what I said 35 years ago, 2 billion bushel. Now we're at 4 billion bushel. We have to keep up with that demand, and without the checkoff and our partners that we work with all the time, we wouldn't have that demand, either domestic or across other borders. So, I mean, these are things that, investment-wise, the farmers are getting the benefit of this, what we're doing. It's our money, too. I invest in it just as well as everybody else does. So, I mean, I'm always concerned about how am I making the most profit for the farmer across this country.
So I'm going to ask you one more question here, and it's one that I know farmers in Iowa are going to want to know because it's just curiosity as farmers. We know we're waiting to get in the field. We're not getting anywhere. The rain is falling. How's it looking in New Jersey?
All right, well, it's been I guess if I can go back to a novel, Tale of Two Cities, it's been a little funny. We had some snow early this winter, which we needed. We have actually been dry. Harvest, it went flawless. We didn't get any rain. We got a couple good snowstorms later in the year, but we were dry. I haven't put anything in the ground yet. We got some rain on Saturday, about an inch altogether, which was very well needed. I'm hoping when we get back tomorrow morning, back to Jersey, I'll probably get started planting some soybeans in the ground. But yeah, and it's been cold. We had frost this morning when I left the house. So yeah, it's been back and forth. And it was cold but dry, which don't worry me too bad, but when you get a cold rain on top of the dry and that seed soaks that up, not usually a good combination.
No, that it is not. I know. It's nice to know, I think, for our standpoint, that Mother Nature is just as much off her meds for you guys as she is for us.
And you're not going to tame her.
Right, exactly. Well, Pat, thank you so much for taking the time to visit us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined by Brandon Doherty of Total Farm Marketing here at the Midday Market discussion. Brandon, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Yeah, kind of mixed here right now. I've got corn about 3 to 4 lower. Soybeans have clawed their way just back above neutral, but wheat is taking a pretty big hit today. Chicago down 13 to 18 cents right now. Kansas City down 7 to 12. Minneapolis down 8 to 11. So I think the fact that wheat is trending lower here has also pulled corn down with it. To that end, both old and new crop corn contracts are posting at this time bearish key reversals, which just means that today's high was greater than yesterday's high. Today's low is lower than yesterday's low. So we'll see by the close if that signal confirms or not, but we are getting some sell signals on stochastics as well on the daily charts, starting to cross over there in that overbought territory. So, we've seen a pretty good run up here. I think part of this is a technical correction. Part of it may be, like I said, the wheat kind of pulling corn and beans a little bit to the downside today. But again, that wheat market, I think we saw a strong run up, probably seeing some technical downside here, in addition to the fact that there are some rains maybe forecast for the southern plains. We'll see what the coverage ends up looking like, but that second week of the forecast does look a little bit wetter.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
Yeah, kind of mixed there as well. I've got live cattle mostly lower, feeder cattle both sides of neutral, and hogs are down by 15 to 90 cents roughly. So it seems like, we're again in the cattle market kind of pushing up into those new high areas, but just are struggling to break through resistance there. And again, seeing some pressure kind of across the grains and livestock today. May just be some profit taking too after getting into these high levels. We do see cash trade on cattle. Let's see here. I was looking at that this morning. Looks like southern sales taking place as much as $9 higher. Box beef prices were lower yesterday. Choice down 85, select down 253. So again, kind of maybe indicating that consumer demand is not quite holding up with these high prices.
Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska, Friday, May 1st, will be a special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We start at 11:30 on a regular auction. We'll be selling breeding bulls, first calf heifer pairs, cow-calf pairs, bred first calf heifers, bred cows, and bred fall cows. That's at the Burwell Livestock Market Friday, May 1st, special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We start at 11:30 on a regular auction. You can view our complete listings at burwelllivestock.com. You can view and bid online at DV Auction or Cattle USA, or give us a call here at the auction market, 308-346-4257.
May corn down 4 cents at 462.5. December corn down 3 1/4 at 494.5. May soybeans up 1/4 cent at 1182.5. November soybeans up a penny at 1172 1/4. May soybean meal down 5.40 at 322.60. On the Merc, June live cattle down $1.10 at 254.15. May feeder cattle down 3 cents at 371.48. May lean hogs down $1.28 at 93.83. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Riley Smith on the show today, filling in for Dustin Huffman, who's on his way back from Washington, D.C., and Mark Magnuson rejoining the conversation now with Matt Bennett of agmarket.net to look more on the livestock side of things. Mark?
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
It's kind of quiet here. I mean, obviously, this livestock market this week gone up and made a new high once again, new all-time high, and came up here yesterday. And as far as June goes, 255.97. I mean, just an incredible market here. I think that some of your bulls have been emboldened by knowing that essentially, you're not going to see those cattle coming north of the border anytime soon. Fundamentals are going to remain excessively tight. And with that being the case, I think some of the funds have stepped in and decided, hey, we're going to go ahead and add to this position. So bottom line is that we definitely have a tight situation. It's a well-known situation. It's people have been long forever. But as far as I'm concerned, we have to be cautious because certainly this cattle market can move very rapidly. Last thing I'll say on cattle is that these cash prices are just awfully strong, and you're coming into grilling season, so I don't expect that demand's going to back off anytime soon.
And what about the hog side of the market?
Yeah, I mean, you look over at hogs, you still got triple digits, I mean, you're looking at June at 103, you're looking at July 106. I mean, awfully rich numbers. I still think there's a lot of substitution effect that has definitely been good for the hog market. Whenever you see the cattle market rallying like this, there's no doubt that, again, grilling season upon us, and your guy goes to the store and going to spend $30 for a ribeye, that pork chop doesn't look too bad, at least every other time, So I think that that's something that's supportive. And I think moving forward, I think that hogs are definitely going to stay strong as long as what you see this cattle market staying strong. So in all honesty, hogs have performed even better than what maybe you would expect. But bottom line is, again, a lot of it's got to do, I think, with the direction of this cattle market.
Matt Bennett of agmarket.net. Head to agmarket.net for all of the resources and information from the team and to get in touch. Matt, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely, you as well.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska, Friday, May 1st, will be a special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We'll be starting at 11:30 on a regular auction. We'll be selling breeding bulls, first calf heifer pairs, cow-calf pairs, bred first calf heifers, bred cows, and bred fall cows. That's at the Burwell Livestock Market Friday, May 1st, special bred cow, heifer, and pair auction. We'll be starting at 11:30 on a regular auction. You can view our complete listings at burwelllivestock.com. You can view and bid online at DV Auction or Cattle USA, or give us a call here at the auction market, 308-346-4257.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and the Food Bank of Iowa transports a lot of its food, of course, through the use of trucks and diesel fuel, and with those prices skyrocketing, that's creating some concerns. Riley Smith has more here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
On the phone right now with Annette Hacker, the Chief Communications and Strategy Officer with the Food Bank of Iowa. And Annette, here in Iowa especially, we are very aware of the increased gas prices. We are seeing them, especially, even today, rising to their highest level in 4 years. And with no end to the war in Iran in sight, we're not sure how long that will stick up. That obviously has an impact not only on consumers, but on just transportation in general. And I know the Food Bank of Iowa relies heavily on transportation with those diesel prices. Tell us a bit about the impact that these increased gas prices are having on your ability to travel across the state.
Diesel prices affect everything we do here nearly everything at Food Bank of Iowa, from the food we source, because it comes to us on a truck, so there's freight added to that, as well as diesel fuel to run our fleet so that we can provide free delivery to the doorsteps of our 700 partner pantries and meal sites across 55 counties. Our diesel prices have gone up 47% since February. We're paying an extra $1.59 for every gallon of diesel that goes in our trucks than we were in February, and that adds up to an extra $5,000 bite out of our budget every single month, which equates to more than 8,300 meals every single month. Obviously, we always want to be the best stewards of our resources, and we wish we were spending that money on food and not diesel fuel.
And with even fewer distributions coming from the USDA, and then also seeing that need for food assistance increase, it is really kind of putting an extra strain on that cost to come in from the fuel every month, right?
Absolutely. We remain in uncertain times, and this is yet another challenge that we need to meet, because we've got to continue to feed people. The number of Iowans who need assistance with food is at an all-time high. We are receiving less support in terms of food distributions from USDA, which means there are more people who need food. We're buying more food. That food costs more. It costs more to get it here, and it's now costing us more to deliver it to our partners.
So then when we look at kind of the ways to receive donations for the food bank, or more people who want to donate for that, when it comes to a donation of monetary versus like a physical donation of food, which of those goes further for the food bank?
Well, donations in any form or size are appreciated, but of course money goes the farthest, because we can source a meal for about 60 cents. You and I can't do that at the grocery store, but because we have relationships with retailers, wholesalers, manufacturers, and we buy food by the semi-truckload, for what you might pay for, say, a can of vegetables at the store, we can probably get 3 or 4 or 5 cans for that same price. So we really can stretch that money a lot farther. But for people who want to help in any way, now's a good time to help. And if you need help with food, know that 24/7. You can go to our website at foodbankiowa.org, click on the Find Food tab, and find resources nearest you across the 55 counties Food Bank of Iowa serves.
All right, Annette, thanks again for the time as always, and we wish you good luck during these times as, these things are weighing in on everyone.
Appreciate that, Riley. Our truck fleet puts on 270,000 miles every year. So delivering that food to the doorsteps of our partners is absolutely critical to what we do. They're the front line, distributing the food to our neighbors facing hunger. So we've got to keep those trucks on the road.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
No longer just speculation, Riley. We actually have some Farm Bill news here this morning.
Yes, we do. We saw the Farm Bill get passed out of the House, finally hit a few roadblocks along the way, but they do have that out. Specifically, we've got expanded access to risk management tools, streamlining land conservation programs to get involved in that, also looking at some measures to address the trade deficit. Notably, it looks like E15 is going to get packaged into separate legislation. There's already talk about that. We'll have updates on that more. We will see you tomorrow on Iowa Ag Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.